Ready for a deep dive? We're tackling autism today, and I know there's a lot of information, a lot of opinions out there.
Yeah, definitely.
It can be kind of overwhelming, trying to sort through it all. So we're doing just that, separating fact from fiction.
Should be interesting.
Like, okay, I'm going to throw this one out there.
Yeah.
Have you heard that vaccines cause autism?
Oh, I've heard that one. Unfortunately, it's pretty common.
Yeah, so many people believe that, but the science just doesn't back it up.
Exactly. It's been debunked. That actually came from this study way back in 1998.
Oh, wow.
It was flawed, though, and it's been, like, totally discredited since then. We're talking major organizations, the CDC, the World Health Organization.
The WHO, right?
Yeah, the WHO. They all agree there's zero link between vaccines and autism.
Which is a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Because if people aren't vaccinating based on this misinformation.
Huge implications.
Yeah, exactly. It affects everyone, the whole community. Especially, people who are more vulnerable for whatever reason.
It really does. Underscores why it's so important to make sure you're getting info from credible sources,
For sure.
And speaking of misconceptions, another one is this idea that that autistic people don't experience empathy.
Oh, interesting.
Which is just not true.
Okay, so they do feel empathy, it just maybe comes across differently.
You got it. It's about how they process social cues, how they respond, not that they aren't feeling for other people.
So like maybe someone with autism wouldn't offer a hug if they saw you were upset or something.
Right, or maybe they wouldn't say, "I'm so sorry."
But they might, try to fix the problem for you or offer you their favorite toy to cheer you up, something like that.
Absolutely. Or, maybe they'd write a letter instead of going to a funeral if that was overwhelming for them.
That makes sense. Yeah.
It's about recognizing that empathy can be shown through actions, not just words.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that everyone expresses themselves differently, which
Yeah.
actually kind of makes me think about this other myth that autism is like a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Right.
But it's called a spectrum for a reason, right?
Exactly. And that's so important to remember. Every single person on the spectrum is an individual, right?
Of course, yeah.
They have their own strengths, their own challenges, their own way of, experiencing the world, just like everyone else, really.
So we need to tailor our approach, celebrate that neurodiversity.
100%.
What works for one person might not work for another.
And that's fine.
It's like, I don't know, you can't treat all dogs the same. You've got your Chihuahuas, your Great Danes.
Love that analogy.
Right. Totally different. They need different things. You wouldn't approach them the same way.
Exactly. Speaking of differences, though, there's another myth I wanted to touch on. And this one's about how children will eventually grow out of autism.
Wow, really? I haven't heard that one before. People believe that.
Oh, yeah, it's out there. But the truth is, autism is lifelong. It's not something you just grow out of.
So it's not a phase or anything.
It's about how their brain is wired. It's part of who they are.
And that doesn't just change over time.
Exactly. Now, that doesn't mean there's no help or that support isn't crucial,
Right, right.
Early intervention can be huge.
Okay, so what would that look like?
Lots of different things. There's ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, which can be really helpful.
What does that do?
It helps teach new skills, manage some of the challenges.
I see. So it's about giving them tools to...
Exactly. To navigate the world, to live their best lives. And it's important to remember, we're not trying to fix them.
Right, because there's nothing to fix. It's just about...
supporting them, empowering them.
Yes, exactly. To live their lives to the fullest.
On their own terms.
So early intervention is not about taking away someone's autism. It's about, like you said, giving them the support to thrive.
You got it. And it's never too late to seek out support, whether it's for a diagnosis or therapy or even just connecting with others who get it.
That's so important. Finding your people, your community. So it sounds like a big takeaway from all this is we need to be open to different ways of thinking, different ways of experiencing the world.
Absolutely. We need to understand and challenge these myths about autism.
Embrace that neurodiversity.
Exactly.
This has been really eye-opening for me so far.
Lots to unpack, for sure.
It makes you think about individual experiences,
Oh, absolutely.
Because even just saying, oh, they're autistic, that tells you something, but doesn't tell you the whole story.
Yeah, it's just one piece of who they are.
Exactly. It's like that's just one part of their personality, their skills, their life.
It reminds me of a quote, actually. Dr. Stephen Shore, I think he said it best. He's a professor with autism. And he said, if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism.
I like that.
It's so true. We can't generalize about an entire group of people.
So true. We miss out on so much when we do that, on seeing the individual, their passions, their struggles.
Exactly. It's about recognizing the richness and complexity of each person's experience.
Okay, so speaking of that, I wanted to ask about support for adults with autism.
Okay.
We talked about early intervention, which is obviously crucial. But what happens after that? Like, what kind of support is there once someone ages out of those childhood programs?
Yeah, that's a great question. And honestly, it's an area where we need a lot more focus. Support for autistic adults is often overlooked.
Really?
Yeah, and it can take so many forms. It might be vocational training, to help them find jobs that play to their strengths. Or maybe it's social skills groups, relationship counseling.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that their needs don't just disappear when they become adults.
True, it has to adapt and evolve.
Exactly. I mean, imagine if support for autistic adults was tailored to their passions.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Whether it's pursuing higher education, getting a PhD, or mastering a craft like culinary arts, I think that's amazing.
It is. It's about empowering them to live the life they want to live
Yes.
on their terms.
And not just practical assistance either, but creating a society where they feel seen,
Absolutely.
heard, valued.
It's about fostering a sense of belonging, creating communities and workplaces that are genuinely inclusive, welcoming to neurodiversity.
Because when people feel supported and accepted, they can truly thrive, right? Contribute
Yeah.
their talents.
Exactly. It benefits everyone. It does.
Yeah.
Okay, switching gears a bit. I've noticed people moving away from saying person with autism to just saying autistic person.
Yeah, the language is definitely shifting.
Is that a conscious thing, do you think?
It's an interesting evolution. You're right. There's been a move from person-first language to identity-first language.
What's the difference? I mean, I know the words are different, but
Yeah, so person-first emphasizes the person first, right?
makes sense.
Like they're a person who has autism. It's not their whole identity. But then identity first kind of flips that. It says, I'm an autistic person. Autism is inseparable from who I am.
Interesting. So is one better than the other? Or is it more about personal preference?
That's the thing. There's no one right answer. It varies within the autistic community.
Gotcha. So it's less about finding the correct words and more about
Understanding. Yeah,
why people prefer a certain way of speaking.
exactly. Some autistic people want to emphasize that autism is just one part of them, while others see it as central to their identity.
And both are valid.
Absolutely. It's all about respecting individual choices, right?
Like-
Recognizing that language is fluid, it evolves.
So what do you do if you're not sure how someone prefers to be addressed?
Just ask.
So simple.
Right. Open and respectful communication is key. That's how we get past the myths, build a real understanding.
It's about being thoughtful, taking that extra moment to be sure.
Yeah, just ask.
Respect goes a long way. Speaking of respect, we should probably touch on that idea of a cure for autism again.
Definitely, it comes up a lot.
Yeah, because framing it that way, like it's something to be cured.
It can be really damaging, yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's something inherently wrong with being autistic.
Right, like this core part of who you are needs fixing.
And that can be so hard, on someone's self-esteem, their mental well-being.
Absolutely. So instead of trying to cure autism, maybe we should be focused on
Celebrating it, right. All the unique perspectives, the talents.
that autistic people bring to the table.
Exactly.
Because it makes the world a richer place, that diversity.
100%. We need to create a world that's inclusive, accepting of those differences. When we embrace neurodiversity, everybody wins.
I love that. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of autism, I'm feeling hopeful.
Me too.
We tackled some tough stuff, busted some myths, talked about understanding, acceptance, and really highlighted how much potential there is within the autistic community.
It's been great. Really eye-opening, honestly.
If our listeners take away one thing, just one thing, I hope it's this. Let's start by asking, how can we fix autism? And start asking, how can we create a world where everyone, no matter their neurology, feels supported, feels valued, and is empowered to thrive?
Such an important question.
And on that note, for the deep dive, I'm your host, signing off.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.